You've probably spent countless evenings trying to piece together a home workout routine, only to find yourself juggling a wobbling bench, a cheap leg extension strap, and a set of dumbbells that never quite hit the right weight. The frustration builds when you realize you still can't hit the same muscle groups you would in a commercial gym, and the space you have feels more like a cluttered storage room than a place to train. That's exactly where the MiM USA Hercules 1001 steps in, an all-in-one station that promises to replace a whole rack of equipment without sacrificing the quality of your lifts. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. When you first unpack the Hercules 1001, the sheer size of it is impossible to ignore. It's built like a steel box, which means the frame doesn't wobble when you're loading heavy plates onto the leg press, and that stability carries over to every other station, whether you're bench pressing, doing a jam arm pull, or extending your legs. The first thing I noticed is how the machine lets you transition from a squat-style leg press to a seated leg extension in a matter of seconds, without having to rearrange any accessories. For anyone living in a home where you only have an hour or two to work out, that kind of quick changeover is a huge time saver. One of the biggest benefits for me has been the ability to target every major muscle group on a single piece of equipment. The Smith-type bar lets you perform rows, shrugs, and shoulder presses while staying within a safe range of motion, which is especially handy for those who are still building confidence with heavier lifts. Meanwhile, the jam arm attachment turns the machine into a functional pull-up simulator. No need to mount a separate pull-up bar or worry about ceiling height. I've also used the built-in weight bench for dumbbell work, and the bench's adjustable backrest gives you the angles you need for incline presses or decline flies, all while staying anchored to the same sturdy platform. Space is always a concern when you're thinking about adding a big piece of equipment to a garage or spare room, but the Hercules 1001 actually consolidates what would otherwise be 3 or 4 separate machines. Think about it, a leg press, a leg extension, a Smith bar, a bench, and a functional trainer all wrapped into one footprint. For a family that shares a workout space, this means you can schedule workouts without having to move equipment around. My sister, who prefers cardio, can hop onto the leg press while I'm using the jam arm for rows, and the machine's design keeps everything safely separated. Durability is another practical upside. The frame is welded from heavy-gauge steel, and the components, like the pulleys and cable systems, are rated for commercial-grade use. I've seen commercial gyms that get slammed by athletes day after day, and the Hercules holds up to that same level of wear. The weight stack goes up to 500 pounds, which is plenty for most home users who want to push past their early strength gains without having to buy additional plates. If you're into progressive overload, the smooth transition between weight increments makes it easy to track small improvements week over week. If you're someone who enjoys mixing in bodyweight movements with traditional resistance training, the machine's design also accommodates that. The platform beneath the leg press can be used for step UPS or box jumps, and the bench can be positioned for Bulgarian split squats or single-leg glute bridges. Because everything is built into one sturdy frame, you aren't forced to buy a separate plyometric box or step platform. I've found that this versatility keeps my workouts fresh, and it reduces the temptation to skip a session when one piece of equipment is unavailable. Now, no piece of equipment is without its trade-offs. The biggest thing I've noticed is that the footprint, while consolidating several machines, still demands a dedicated corner of at least 8 by 10 feet. If you're working with a tiny studio apartment, you'll need to be strategic about where you place it. On the plus side, the build quality feels like it could last a decade, and the range of exercises you can do without buying extra gear is impressive. On the downside, the machine isn't the quietest when you load plates. You'll hear a bit of metal on metal if you drop the weights quickly. For most home users, that's a minor annoyance, but it's something to keep in mind if you have downstairs neighbors who might be sensitive.